Milton Berle. Milton Berle once dominated early television, earning recognition as one of the foundational figures who shaped TV comedy for American viewers. However, as television matured and audience tastes shifted, Berle remained locked in the style that first made him famous. Known widely as Mr. Television, he controlled the airwaves during the late 1940s and early 1950s. His program Texaco Star Theater drew massive national attention, yet much of his comedy relied on old vaudeville traditions and repeatedly recycled jokes. As younger comedians introduced sharper, more contemporary humor, Berle refused to adjust. He continued performing slapstick routines and punchlines that felt decades out of date. Former writers noted his resistance to innovation. He rejected new formats, avoided political or social themes, and insisted on remaining the focal point of every sketch, even when it disrupted the story. When viewership declined, he blamed audiences rather than reassessing his creative direction. Away from the spotlight, the same lack of foresight appeared. Berle invested in multiple comedy clubs and entertainment venues nationwide, yet he rarely visited or oversaw them. One manager claimed Berle had not visited his own club for more than a year before it closed. Many of his business ventures collapsed due to poor oversight, neglect, and incomplete planning. Though he attempted several returns to relevance, Berle never truly transformed his approach. His legacy became one of unrealized growth. A pioneer who carved the path for television comedy, but refused to evolve once the road changed. Rod Steiger. Rod Steiger was celebrated as one of Hollywood's most intense and emotionally driven actors. An Academy Award winner, he brought powerful realism to every performance. Yet his deep commitment to method acting often crossed the line from dedication into disruption, leading many to believe that his pursuit of authenticity limited his career as much as it elevated it. Steiger delivered memorable work in films such as On the Waterfront and In the Heat of the Night. His preparation was legendary. He developed extensive character histories, perfected accents, and immersed himself emotionally, even for smaller roles. However, this process frequently delayed productions, frustrated fellow actors, and placed directors under constant pressure. On one occasion, he halted filming for days, insisting his character was not psychologically prepared. In another case, he demanded script changes during shooting to better match his interpretation. While this intensity sometimes produced extraordinary results, it often created conflict and inflated budgets. More damaging were the opportunities he declined. Steiger turned down roles in The Godfather and Patton, citing artistic disagreements. These decisions proved pivotal, as those films went on to define the careers of other actors. Instead, Steiger drifted into lesser-known projects, failing to fully capitalize on his early acclaim. Although colleagues admired his talent, many found his working style exhausting. Some believed he confused emotional extremes with depth, pushing scenes beyond what the story required. In his quest to fully inhabit every role, Rod Steiger often overlooked the broader career opportunities unfolding around him. Earl Holliman. Earl Holliman followed a path defined by caution. He possessed a smooth voice, natural charisma, and even earned a Golden Globe, yet he rarely stepped beyond the boundaries he set for himself. While his resume appeared impressive, it concealed a pattern of safe, predictable choices that caused him to fall behind more adventurous peers. Emerging in the 1950s, Holloman maintained steady work in film and television, appearing in productions such as The Rainmaker and Forbidden Planet. Despite collaborating with respected industry figures, he repeatedly accepted similar supporting roles with minimal variation. When encouraged to attempt dialects or emotionally demanding performances, Holloman reportedly declined, explaining that he preferred not to stretch himself. Producers valued his dependability, but understood he avoided creative risk. Scripts that required vulnerability or experimentation were routinely passed over. Over time, casting directors stopped considering him for challenging projects, viewing him as reliable but unremarkable. Off-screen, his approach remained equally conservative. He avoided publicity, limited interviews, and declined opportunities that might have expanded his public profile. Even after winning a Golden Globe for The Rainmaker, he failed to leverage the recognition into leading roles or break out of typecasting. In an industry driven by reinvention, Hollowman's refusal to take chances caused him to quietly disappear. While others gambled and achieved lasting recognition, he remained respected but largely forgotten as the spotlight moved elsewhere. Guy Madison. Guy Madison embodied the classic all-American leading man. With a strong jawline, striking eyes, and effortless screen presence, he looked like a star. Yet his career demonstrated that appearance alone cannot sustain long-term success. Discovered while serving in the Navy, Madison rose rapidly despite having no formal acting background. His breakout role in Until the End of Time suggested a bright future, but the momentum quickly faded. Directors soon recognized his limitations. He struggled with emotional complexity and often required detailed coaching for basic scenes. On set, he depended heavily on line-by-line instruction and avoided roles requiring transformation. Madison resisted dialects, avoided morally complex characters, and defaulted to restrained, emotionless performances. While visually appealing, his work lacked the depth needed to fully engage audiences. His off-screen decisions mirrored these shortcomings. He invested in ventures such as fitness centers and real estate projects, but lacked the financial insight to sustain them. Colleagues described him as easily influenced and inconsistent in long-term planning. By the 1960s, Madison's popularity had declined, and he transitioned into low-budget European productions, far removed from his early Hollywood promise. His career serves as a reminder that surface appeal without substance cannot endure. A striking presence without lasting fire. Jean Arthur. Jean Arthur possessed one of the most recognizable voices of classic Hollywood. Soft, breathy, and instantly familiar, it complemented her exceptional comedic rhythm and emotional nuance. She shined in iconic films such as Mr. Smith Goes to Washington and The More the Merrier. Yet her brilliance was shadowed by profound discomfort with fame itself. Despite her success, Arthur battled chronic anxiety and an intense fear of public exposure. She avoided social events, declined interviews, and frequently rejected press obligations. This behavior was not aloofness, but genuine distress. Studio executives often struggled to accommodate her emotional needs, carefully managing her mental well-being to keep productions running. Arthur declined numerous major roles, including It's a Wonderful Life. Directors observed her constant self-doubt and difficulty forming connections off-camera. Between takes, she often withdrew entirely. Although her performances were captivating, her insecurity made studios hesitant to cast her consistently. Eventually, Arthur left the industry altogether, choosing a quiet life in education rather than enduring Hollywood's pressures. While her work remains timeless, her inability to navigate the demands of fame limited her legacy. She stands as a rare example of extraordinary talent constrained by vulnerability. Tony Curtis. Tony Curtis built a career fueled by charisma, style, and undeniable star power. His presence alone commanded attention, making him one of the most marketable actors of the 1950s. Yet beneath that charm was an artist who often valued fame over artistic depth. Curtis delivered standout performances in films such as Some Like It Hot and The Defiant Ones, but these moments were exceptions. Much of his career consisted of light comedies and polished dramas that relied more on image than substance. Industry observers noted his reluctance to pursue demanding roles, favoring projects that preserved his leading man persona. Curtis openly admitted that some roles were chosen for financial gain or visibility rather than creative fulfillment. This short-term thinking cost him opportunities that might have reshaped his legacy. Off-screen, he displayed similar restlessness, jumping between projects, making impulsive investments, and struggling to maintain consistency. His production company failed to gain traction, and later attempts to establish himself as a serious dramatic actor arrived too late. Though his name remains iconic, Curtis's career illustrates how prioritizing immediate success can limit long-term impact. Peter Lorre. Peter Lorre possessed one of the most distinctive faces and voices in cinematic history. His unsettling presence made him unforgettable in roles marked by mystery, menace, and tragedy. However, Beneath that powerful exterior lay insecurities that quietly restricted his career. Lore achieved international acclaim with them, where his portrayal of a troubled criminal left a lasting impression. Hollywood quickly confined him to similar roles, casting him repeatedly as the outsider or villain. While he excelled, he grew resentful of the limitations imposed on him. Despite craving diversity, Lore often rejected opportunities to break free, fearing public and critical reaction. Friends observed his tendency to undervalue himself. He accepted supporting roles when leading parts were possible, undercharged for his work, and avoided asserting creative control. These choices proved self-limiting. Struggling with personal challenges, Lore withdrew rather than seeking support. He turned down roles that could have redefined his image, choosing familiarity over growth. Though his performances remain unforgettable, his career reflects how fear can keep even the most gifted from reaching their full potential. Frank Fay. Frank Fay was a towering presence in American theater, celebrated for his sharp timing and commanding stage persona. A vaudeville legend, he helped shape early stand-up comedy. Yet his immense talent was consistently undermined by volatile behavior and resistance to change. Audiences adore him, but behind the scenes, his arrogance and temper alienated nearly everyone. Producers acknowledged his brilliance, but found him unmanageable. His outspoken views further damaged his reputation, and as collaboration became essential in Hollywood, Fay found himself isolated. Rather than adapting, he blamed others for his declining opportunities. His marriage to actress Barbara Stanwyck ended bitterly, with insiders citing his controlling nature as a major factor. Although he continued working sporadically, offers diminished as his reputation spread. Fay's career stands as a clear example of squandered potential. Though instrumental in shaping modern comedy, he left behind a legacy defined by conflict and missed opportunities. Kim Novak. Kim Novak emerged as one of the most striking figures of 1950s Hollywood. Elegant and enigmatic, she became unforgettable after her performance in Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo. Yet behind the image was an actress often perceived as distant and disengaged. Without formal training, Novak's rise was driven largely by Columbia Pictures' desire to create a new rival to Marilyn Monroe. While her beauty drew attention, her restrained acting divided critics. Some praised her subtlety, others viewed it as emotional detachment. Novak pushed back against being treated as a pin-up and rejected roles she found demeaning. However, she resisted professional development, declining vocal training and passing on projects that might have expanded her range. Unlike contemporaries who reinvented themselves, Novak remained tied to her original image. Her withdrawal from publicity further diminished her influence. She avoided interviews and allowed misconceptions to linger. Eventually, she became more symbol than storyteller. Remembered for her presence rather than evolution, Novak's legacy remains debated. Quiet brilliance or opportunity left unclaimed.